Hey folks, it's me, Carlos.
And I'm Mitchell.
And in today's episode, we're talking to you about online versus in-person board games. Stick around.
You're listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
Hey, before we get into our main topic for today's show, which is about online versus in-person board gaming, we're just going to kind of run you through some of the recent games that we've been playing, hobby stuff that we've been up to, games we've been buying, that kind of update. And I'll kick us off. I wanted to bring up a recent video that just published for a preview that I did for a small game, a small box game called Treeblox. Treeblox is a game by Philip I can't even pronounce that. Olenek. Appreciate you, Philip, for sending me a copy of your game. Philip is with Emergent Plant Life. It's a first time, I believe, design based on what I saw. It's a very light, abstract game with deep strategy. The theme of it is what gets me, Mitch. The theme is you are playing a plant, right? So you're a tree sapling, almost like a leaf that falls on the ground, and you start to grow your branch. And as you're growing your branch, you're placing these blocks on, and there's actually actually stacking blocks that you would see like at kindergarten or something for counting, those kinds of snap cubes. And you're placing these little blocks to represent your leaves and your branches. You're trying to grow your tree. The winner of the game is going to be the player that has most leaves at the end of the game with direct view to the sun. So if you're looking straight top down from the board game, I guess almost like Reef, where you're looking straight down on the game, whatever's on top is what matters. But because they're snap cubes that almost connect like Legos, you can build in these weird like 3D branches that are going to grow out and away from the starting space of the base. And you're going to grow these branches and try to place these leaves on it to cover up your opponent's leaves, right, to prevent them from getting access to the sun while in putting yours out. And there's also this aspect of growth rate. So if you've got 3 or more leaves showing on the top view that are getting sun, you get to grow at twice the regular rate. So you're getting 2 cubes around versus 1. So you're really trying to stem your opponent's growth while making yours grow faster. So it really feels like science, like, you know, ecology. It flows out real nice. And by the time you're done, you got this blob. I don't know if you can see it, Mitch. I know y'all folks at home are on the podcast, but there's this like 3D structure that I'm dealing with where we've grown plants effectively out of this bamboo based board. But I put up a preview video for it. Check it out. It's called Treeblox by Philip Olenek, and it's Emergent Plant Life Games.
Yeah, the first thing I thought of whenever I saw it was exactly what you said, those manipulatives. English is hard,
English
man.
is not your first language either.
It is. That's the sad thing. No, my wife's a second grade teacher. I have kids in first and second grade, so I say these all the time. And then my initial thought was Reef, which is like you mentioned from what I saw of your video. I remember you making fun of Reef, saying it was Duplo toys, you know, your components. But
you're right, I did.
This looks pretty cool. It also reminded me, have you ever played Photosynthesis? I don't think you have.
I have. I enjoyed that one.
It's thematically it's similar, but it seems like it's like a streamed down version of that, right? For like a quick play.
Yeah, 15 minutes, very abstracted, very streamlined, 2-player only. So you get that feel of Photosynthesis, but without all the brain burn.
Right. Seems cool. I'd be interested to play it. I like tactile things. It seems very tactile. Right.
Yes, very kinetic, very, very, because it almost has, it isn't quite a balance mechanism. Like it's not dexterity, right? But you're snapping these cubes together, and you can really try to do it in a way where it doesn't fall over. You don't lose if it falls over. It's just annoying. So it does have the kinetics of it.
So I'm looking, and I know the people at home can't see. Does it have a piece that like pokes out like those manipulatives, or how do they fit together? Can you show me? I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, they are a cube with one pip out the top. So it's like a D6, right? So it's a cube. Of the 6 sides, one of them has a pip, like a male, and then the rest of the sides are all female. So you get one side you can plug into. The game says that when you start, you put one leaf on the board. It's a pegboard that you start off on. It's like a 4x4 pegboard, and you plug in the hole into the floor, and then from then on, you can place a piece on your turn such that it has to be a white branch if you're the light player, or a black branch if you're the dark player, where it's touching another open branch of your color, or a hole in the floor on the ground, right? So you start off a new stem or a new branch. So you can only ever place your leaves onto branches of yours, and you can only ever place your branches onto branches of yours. So that's how the limitation of it it's pretty interesting kind of watching how it starts to spiral, because it feels like two plants like intertwined trying to outgrow each other, right? It's weird because it really works. Like the theme works.
Is this one you would play with the kids?
Yes. My 10-year-old, he's 11 now, as of this last month. He's the one that I've been playing with.
Looks like fun. I wish I could have gotten some games to the table recently, but I just had a show open in our community theater, so I've been fully online gaming recently, which is very on topic for today. One game I wanted to bring up, I know we talked about it earlier, was our game that we played at Ruins of Arnak after the call-in show on Thursday. You, me, and Raph, we had all played, though I think I was the only one that had played online, and then we taught Kyle from Chicago, Mr. Jeeves, as well. I did come out with the win, which I was proud of, but what I was most proud of was on BGA, if you're a premium member, you get statistics. One of the most staggering ones. Not to brag, but I thought this was crazy. It showed the thinking time. So Kyle, 52 minutes, 34 seconds. The game in total lasted exactly 2 hours. So he had almost half the time, which is understandable. You know, he was still learning the game. Raph, 33 minutes, 12 seconds. Carlos, you had 26 minutes, 42 seconds. My total was 7 minutes and 57 seconds of thinking time, which that just shows how I run my game nights, like we talked about last time. As soon as someone's previous turn finished, click, I was going. And Carlos, you were next in turn order. And so I feel like a lot of time it fell on you. You didn't even realize I had taken it. That's how quickly it was happening.
Right. I think I started yelling at you to say, hey, punch me digitally, like yell at me when it's my turn. So, because I'm not a fast player, but I do agree. If it's your turn, focus on your turns so you're not messing up with the enjoyment of the game for others. And I think it showed that. I got second fastest in the game, right?
Mm-hmm. And second place as well.
Look at that. Oh, wow, there's a correlation here. Because, folks, we didn't talk about points.
Well, okay, so yeah, I had 61, you had 51. Kyle had 50, but he was the third. He was the slowest,
right.
though. Yeah.
Oh, but it was Raph. I mean, it's a lot to say, dude. No, thanks, Raph, for bringing up the idea of playing Arnak. I got to say, when we finished that game and you came out with that score of 61, and then we found out you did that in 7 minutes, like it stunned me. It was what, 1 a.m. when we finished?
Yeah,
I was texting Rob, Tampa time. I was texting Rob, you won't believe this. 7 minutes, exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. We always felt that you were fast. Now we have the data to support it.
Yes, quantitative data right there.
I did the Arnak style of focusing on exploring and defeating monsters. I don't think I went to the research track until the end of the game when we were all out of campsites to explore, right? All the exploration was done. And I was hoping that would be a stronger strategy, but I think second place is pretty good for that. Yeah. But that's still like a 10-point gap. So, I mean, what was your strategy that got you those extra 10 points?
So I went Guardian heavy as well. My kind of priority list for that game is always as early as possible in a round, I go explore a new area so that I can use the rest of my remaining turns, as many as I need, to get what I need to defeat the Guardian. And I noticed a lot of times I don't know if you just weren't optimizing, you had like workers left over at the end of the round with no way to place them. Because you didn't have the cards.
I had no cards to place them because I focused so hard on defeating the Guardian that it cost me cards to get the resources I needed, like the compasses and the gold to defeat the Guardians, leaving me with workers sitting on my board not going anywhere.
Yeah, I guess the hardest part for me is to do what I do. I try to beat at least one Guardian around. So it's a minimum 15 compasses you need. So I buy cards that give me lots of compasses. There's a card that you get a compass for every monkey you have. So it works really well because you're getting monkeys each time you're spinning those compasses, and it kind of builds the engine.
You're building that engine.
Right. So I got that card in that game, and it helped me a lot.
It helped you by 10. This week, I introduced my father-in-law to Tsuro, Tsuro, Tsuro by Calliope, I think is how you pronounce it, games. And it's a abstract tile placement game of paths. So you're going to start with this board, and the board has spaces for your tiles, and I believe it's like 7 spaces wide. Imagine that, like 8 tiles wide, and you place your stone on one of the perimeter spaces. And then you're going to have 3 tiles in your hand. Each tile is going to have paths that run from each side of the four sides of the tile, right? So imagine like a little rope running from one side to the other. Sometimes it turns left, sometimes it turns right, sometimes it goes straight across, sometimes it loops back around. But what you're doing is you're building these paths, and your goal is to keep your stone inside the play area. So on your turn, of the 3 tiles that you have available to you, you're going to pick one, and you're going to place it in front of you. And then you're going to move your stone on that little path to the other side of the tile, wherever that path may lead. Right? And each player is going to play one of these paths for their stone each time you go around. You draw a new path tile to replace the one you had before, so you have 3 as an option each time. And that's great and fun. That's easy peasy. What gets crazy is when you get close to another opponent, because when you lay a tile that impacts you by placing it in front of your stone, but it also ends up in front of an opponent's stone, you get to move your opponent's stone on that path. The goal of the game is to be the last man standing. And what happens is eventually you're going to get put onto a path that leads off the board. So your goal is to stay away from paths that lead off the board while finding a way to get your opponent onto a said path that moves them off the board. And by the time you filled up the board with all your tiles, you kind of filled up this like 8x8, board of tiles, these paths running these crazy circles and patterns all the way around. So it's great when you can get it set up just right, where you can land it right on your opponent, right in front of your opponent, and make him go down this whirly twirly path that kicks him off the board. So it's Tsuro. I forgot how much fun this game was. It's been over 10 years.
And I saw you had posted it was his first time playing it, and he wanted to play it again. He played like 5 times or something like that.
Yeah, my father-in-law's not a gamer. He's not. He asked me to go over there to help hook up his Roku. Okay, so I use that as moments to bribe people to do what I want to do. Right. So I said, all right, GP Grandpa, I will hook up your Roku, get you all set up. But after that, we're going to have a beer. We're going to play some Tsuro. So I introduced it to him, and I wasn't sure how he thought in the first game because he lost pretty fast. I think he kicked himself off. Like he placed the tile in the point where it took him on a path and he lost. And I said, okay, good. I was fine. I was happy. I taught him. I was ready to rack it up, put it away. And GP says, no, do it again. Right. 5 games later, and probably like 5 years later, we are laughing. We're enjoying it. He's like, that was really good. And he is not a gamer at all. Not even like normal standard games you would think of.
That's a sign of a good game that a gamer and a non-gamer can both sit and enjoy it and play it over and over again. I wish I had something like that I knew that my dad or my my mom or my siblings would get into like that. That's pretty cool.
I wish I had a dad.
Wow.
But it's okay. I got a cool father-in-law.
Way to bring it down there.
That's a downer. That's a downer. All right, bring us up, Mitch.
Yeah, so I guess I'll mention one other game. Like I said, it's all been online gaming for me this past week, unfortunately. It's an older game, but one that I learned on BGA, and that's Trekking the World. So it's the sequel to the Trekking the National Parks. Made the documentary about that one. I'd heard of this game. The 2 games, never played it before until recently. I saw they're coming out with Trekking Through History, which I think is really cool. I was a history major in college, and I want to.
Yeah, I'm looking at that one.
So, I mean, for people listening, if they don't know, you're basically following paths around the world. Each city around the world or each location has these cubes that you're collecting. You're kind of trying to collect, but also you're collecting cards that let you move around the board. And whenever you go to different locations, if you have the right set of cards, you can like claim that location. Really simple, but a lot of fun. Really light. It's really nice on BGA because it does all the work for you. I mean, you click on where you want to go, and then it says, okay, you need to discard cards that equal this amount. And says, what do you want to do? You can, if you want to, claim this location, you just click on the 2 cards or however many cards you want to get rid of. It goes away. It's really smooth. I've only ever played it online. I feel like I completely understand the rules, so BGA did a good job implementing that.
I actually picked this one up from Armada Games. The first time I saw it, I felt like it was going to be Ticket to Ride-ish with a little more involved, and I think it kind of hit perfectly on that note. This is a very enjoyable game. Robert and I played it with the kids. I think it's 5. It plays up to 5 if I'm right.
I'm not sure. I've always played it up to 3 on BGA.
Okay, I can't see my copies behind some other games, but we played it with it might be 4. We played it with the family. We really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. I think it's got Ticket to Ride feels to it, but more. And especially if you like traveling and learning, because we made the kids read the back of each card. You played the digital version. The cards...
It shows them, though. You can still see them.
Okay, so it gives you the narratives on the locations.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at it on learning experience. It is up to 5 players.
Yeah, and that's part of why I bought it, if I remember correctly, because it's hard to find good games that play 5 and still play within an hour.
Yeah, I think no matter the player count, this is probably an under an hour game. This is about this. I'm looking it up. According to BGG, it's 0.01 difference off in terms of weight. Because you said you felt like it was a little bit more than Ticket to Ride. I felt like it was pretty even with Ticket to Ride.
Well, I think the set collection on this one, because you're trying to grab different souvenirs, right, to meet different goals. So you want to be the one who leads in certain souvenirs. So you got to hit certain places to do that. I like that in this game you can block, right? So there's the ability to put your pawn in a place that prevents somebody from going that way.
Frustrating when somebody does that,
isn't it? Oh. And that's that level up. I mean, like I know Ticket to Ride, you can take somebody's route, but like I could purposely just stop you from moving in that whole direction and then leave.
I could be planning this for several turns, and then it's like you're just sitting there. It's like, wow, you literally just ruined my last 5 turns. So there's definitely probably more player interaction than Ticket to Ride. I could see that. A little bit of take that.
Great title, man. Great choice. I've also been heavily busy at work trying to keep up, and it's got me gaming wise not where I want to be. But after playing Viticulture, the copy that Jamie Stegmeyer sent us, and by the way, he that was so cool that he tried to call in at the end of the show after the phone lines had closed. So he commented in the chat room about being there. So that was real cool. But I wanted to play more, right? I had bought the Steam version so that I can learn the rules before we played in person. And I don't like playing on laptops and computers. I'm on computers all day. That's what I do for work. I'm always on a computer, so I don't want to be near a computer. But I found out that you can have it on Android. There's an Android version. I know it's on BGA, right? Which I think you can play that on your mobile device through the Chrome browser or something. Yeah. So I picked up Viticulture on Android, and I think this last week alone, I've had 5 games of Viticulture in the last 5 days.
That's more than you've ever played in the years before that. You played it, twice
Correct.
before? Yeah.
I mean, I think I had a game today. I had a match at lunchtime today. I got through a match of
you playing with randos?
Against the bots.
Okay,
just the bots. Right now, I'm just trying to really learn the game and the rules because I'm really seeing at 3 players, Viticulture is fun.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that is the sweet spot. 3 players, I agree. Just you need to get
That's me this last week. Digital wise, a lot of Viticulture. Any other games for you? Maybe anything tabletop or digital? What else?
I mean, kind of more the same. I played a couple games of Tapestry, some Chocolate Factory, a lot of on repeat. Some of these really good games. Yeah, BGA. Yeah, it's kind of, don't tell my boss, but man, I get to play more during work than at home whenever I'm doing family stuff because it's so easy. You just pull it up on your phone. It's great. But I guess we'll talk about that more later.
Take one turn and be done.
Yeah.
I played Liar's Dice in person. So I picked up Liar's Dice. It's a game by Richard Berg. Richard Borg is a designer of war games. So Richard Borg designed Liar's Dice, and I'm finding out was his first design ever.
I didn't realize that was his.
Decades ago. Me neither. It wasn't until I met him at Dice Tower for a tournament, Memoir 44 stuff, and I saw that he was hosting a Liar's Dice tournament. And I thought he was just doing it because he liked Liar's Dice. But then I looked at the box and it had his name on it. So I was a little stunned. Something as light as that.
So had you played before?
I had not. I had never played before. I have played Richard Borg's copy or version of Yahtzee because when he worked for Hasbro back then, he also did a version of Yahtzee for them. So I own that one. I knew about that. I didn't realize he did Liar's Dice.
Yeah, so I played Liar's Dice, but I've only ever played it literally with dice and dice cups. So I saw you posted up there's a board, and I guess that's just a track where what the current bid is. Is that right?
That's right. So it's a place to store the dice that you've lost, and it's a place to track where the current bid is. And you always bid clockwise. Now I'm wondering when it comes to what you've played, right? The kind of like the homebrew version. Is there a wild in that game? Like are ones wild?
No.
Okay, so in his game, the ones are stars on the dice, and stars are wild. So wilds will count at whatever number the bid is as well. So however many stars are on the board, you're going to add that to whatever bid you're doing for those numbers.
That's interesting. That switches it up a little bit. I really like the game. I'm just horrible at it. Like bidding games, or like poker, stuff like that, where you're trying to kind of bluff people out. I'm not great at it, but I enjoy it.
Okay, so now I know what to play with it. What's cool is it has this aspect where you can either choose to bid on a number of numbers, right? That's like the standard bid. I bid that there's 5 6s out here, right? Or you can bid on a number of stars, wilds, and those bids are interspersed. So, like for example, the bidding order on that table on the board, the tableau, starts with 1, right? So it's the number 1 spot, and you can choose to say, here's how many of this face of the dice are 1 on this table. And then when you go to raise, you have to go clockwise. So the next one is 2. So you can put a dice face there because there's this bidding dice, and you put the dice face there and say there are 2 of face 4s, right? Of 4s showing. But then the next one is 1 star. So you can bid saying there's 1 star out there. So it kind of intersperses the stars within the number bids. So if I raise, I can always go as far as I want clockwise. So I can just say, you know what, there are 4 stars out there. But if I go to the 4 stars for bidding, I'm now bidding that there are 10 of a certain number, right? So now I can't go back to number bids because the next bid for numbers clockwise on the board is saying that there are 10 of a certain number out there. So you can see how there's a strategy that builds up with how to bid and when to bid what.
That's different.
It formalizes it.
That changes it a good bit, actually, from not having those wilds.
Yeah, maybe since you've played, maybe I'll just bring it with me to Louisiana so we can actually play it with a big group and not just like my family here inside. Because I want to see what it's like with gamers to give my review on that. But that's Liar's Dice by Richard Borg of Memoir 44 fame. And I think the last update I'm going to give y'all is my Blood Bowl update, which I've been doing. My team is currently at 1 loss, 2 wins. But what really stands out, Mitchell, is my 2 wins were both by 3 touchdowns. That's insane. I don't think I've scored 3 touchdowns in a game of Blood Bowl, and I've been playing this for a while now, ever. And in my first 2 wins of this season, both wins were at 3 touchdowns.
No need to brag.
There's something about this. Hey, I'm bragging, bro. There is something about this Lizard Man team. It's because Blood Bowl teams are all different. They're like dwarves and elves and goblins and orcs, right? They're all very different. The Lizard Men team has this dichotomy where half the players are these small, like little lizards, but they're fast. Like they move 9 spaces. That's insanity in Blood Bowl. Like 9 spaces is a far movement, right? But then you got these big guys, like these big blockers. And most of the time, whenever you have a big guy on a Blood Bowl team, they're slow. They move maybe 4 spaces, maybe 5 spaces. My big guys move 6. So I've got this real mobile team. Like I can move around the field and just smash stuff, and then my little guys can pick up the ball and run and score. It just feels very much more active, more going on. I'm moving faster, and I'm really enjoying this style of play.
So what's the downside? I mean, they can't just be all amazing.
No skills. They start off with no skills, the big guys. They're strong. Normally, there's these different skills that help you modify dice rolls. So, like, I'm at the whims of dice to begin with. I'm chucking more of them. I'm chucking more of them than you are because I'm bigger than you, but I got no way to modify them.
And so you said you're at 2 wins and 1 loss, right? That's what you said?
2 wins.
And your 1 loss was a forfeiture, right? You didn't actually play that.
Right, because I was going camping, so I couldn't make it to that. So I got my next match tomorrow against an undead team, a guy by the name of Tim who moved here from California recently to Florida, and I'm looking forward to playing him tomorrow.
So can you switch your team out if you want?
No. Once you start, it's a league. So we're playing 10 games for the league. So you have your team that you start with. You spend so much gold to hire players. After each game, depending on if you won or lost, you're going to win some more gold to hire more players. I've already filled out my roster with big guys. And I've got a giant crocodilian guy named a Croxagore, is what they call him. He's like even bigger than the other guys. He's this huge dude. And the model's got to be 5 inches tall of pewter, heavy pewter.
Wow.
All my team is painted up. The pictures are out there. I'll put some more pictures so you can see. It's a gorgeous time. Are you interested in Blood Bowl? Is that what you said?
I never said that.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if I heard that. So that is our recent played. And now, let's get to the main topic of the show. We're going to talk to you about online board gaming versus in-person board gaming. Mitch, I'll let you lead us off.
Sure. So, I think like most people, I was initially hesitant to the concept of transferring in-person gaming to online gaming, but I'm sure this is a fairly universal experience. During COVID, you take what you can get, right? And so I nowadays, if I'm being honest, I probably online game more than I do in person just because of the convenience. I'm kind of giving away some of my points, but I think we should kind of start off just talking about the pros of each one. So obviously, in-person gaming, if you want to play a game, you just get your hands on the game and play it. That can be limited in online. I think that obviously, the biggest thing with in-person gaming is the social interaction, right? Even though mine is more limited than Carlos's, because I try to get my
7 minutes.
I try to get my people to come on, take your turn. But still, there's the interaction. But also just in terms of gameplay, like if you don't see what other people are doing, if online you see, okay, their turn's over, they click something and maybe some pixels flew across the screen, but you don't really see what they're doing. So it's harder to keep track of other players. So in those aspects, I would think in-person gaming is a little bit better. What about you? What do you prefer about the in-person gaming experience?
You probably hit the nail on the head. Like, what bugs me about the online system right now, the first con I'm going to always talk about is I'm on the computer most of the day. Like, that's the first con is I work on a computer. I don't want to be on a computer when I'm not at work. So it's a struggle for me to do that. Probably why I don't like editing videos and stuff, because it's just more time spent on a computer. Outside of that, the biggest issue I have with online gaming is I can't track what other people are doing as well. Everything's so much more condensed or compartmentalized, right? So when you go to your player board to move some wine in viticulture, right, or make some wine out of grapes in viticulture, I can see your tableau. I can see you physically moving stuff, right? And I had an idea of what it looked like before. But when it happens in a game, it just kind of whoosh. It just happens in the game. And I'm like, well, I don't know exactly how he got there, but that's where he's at.
Yeah, and
that's a struggle for me.
Another thing, actually, too, and I'm just thinking of this off the cuff, but in some ways it's easier to learn games online because it's kind of doing things for you, but that can become a handicap if you're spoiled to playing online, and then you go and play in person, you're like, oh, I don't know how to do all this upkeep. I'm used to the computer doing it for me.
I don't know how wine is made. I just know I push this button.
Right. So,
but that's also a benefit, though, because how many times have we played a game in person for a long time over and over again? Then we get into the actual digital implementation. I'm not talking like tabletop simulator where you're moving stuff around, but it does it for you. And then you realize, I've been doing that wrong my whole life.
Oh, that doesn't typically happen with me. I usually read the rule books. I don't know about you, Carlos, but
I count on Rob to teach me, but he also counts on Rodney to teach him.
Right.
So a lot of reliance going on here with Canada.
It's the telephone problem. The word gets changed a little bit. So I guess if we flip the lid a little bit and we look at the pros of online gaming, first of all, it's just easier to organize a game, right? Like, you don't have to drive to my house. If you have work the next day, it's okay. There's no stakes, right? It's not like, oh, I got to drive 30 minutes to your house, so I need to get a bunch of games in to make it worth it. It's just like, at any time we could pop into a game. And on top of that, you don't even have to know people, And not only could you play against bots, you could play against randos online, which I prefer. I know you've been playing against bots. I guess you like it on easy mode, but against a real human, it's a little bit more challenging.
No, I do the Grape Gatsby. Grape Gatsby? The hard mode. Yeah,
that's clever.
I think it's got Jamie Stegmaier's picture on it. I do the hard mode for viticulture.
I love that. Kind of something we already talked about a little bit. It could be faster. There's no setup. There's no teardown. There's no, refresh phase. There's no scoring that you have to do. It does all that for you. Kind of a pro and a con. But the biggest thing I think that I see the benefit in online gaming is asynchronous games. We mentioned a little bit earlier. I get an email on my phone. It says, or a notification, a push notification. Hey, it's your turn on this game. I jump into the game, spend 1 minute or maybe 1 second on a turn with my track record. And then I continue. I go to work. I do what I'm doing. And, whenever I get a break, I look at my phone. Oh, there's another turn, and you go. Now, I will admit, with newer games, that can be tougher. Kind of, how the chess grandmasters will play like 15 games of chess at one time, just going around in a circle.
Yeah.
I feel like that sometimes, because I'll have multiple games of Tapestry going or multiple games of Arnak going, and I have to take just a quick second to kind of grab my bearings and see where I am, and then see what I need to do to optimize. But with those games that I've played a million times, my next notification.
I have not done the asynchronous gaming yet. I'm asynchronous curious. I was kind of playing around with like the buttons in BGA to figure out how to do that, because there are some games that I think I know well enough that I can do the put it away, pick it up, know exactly where I'm at, do the next step type stuff. Like, I want to get to that point with viticulture. Maybe a match with you might help me. An asynchronous match with you of viticulture, now that I've really learned it well, know the cards and how it does, might be a good way to do my first asynchronous game.
Yeah, it really it tests your skill, because it's one thing. You've talked about how you got to write down what you're planning on doing. This is something where if you're doing that, you might as well be playing a synchronous game. But of course, the synchronous online games are more akin to the real life experience, especially I have a Discord for my group. I mean, there's a Beans and Dice Discord group. So, I mean, we're chatting it up. We're joking, making jibes at each other, just like we're in real life. We got the webcams on. So it's a little bit closer to that gaming experience. But the thing is, if you can jump on Discord and have this whole thing, you're probably likely to be a person. That's what we did whenever I had COVID and I was in quarantine, because my house is kind of like the central location where we game usually. And we did that the other night after the call-in show with Arnak. It felt nice.
No, that's definitely a plus, right? Because I do have a good gaming community. If I want to get a game in, I can just call somebody up and we can make it happen, right? That's not a problem. It's finding the time to game where I struggle between work and family and baseball and kids and all that. But what we've added to the after show by playing, because I think it started with just some folks wanted to play some games online. We thought, let's do Welcome To together. And that just kind of led into this, like every other week at least, we've done a game online. I've gotten a game with people who aren't anywhere near me, right? So there's you, Mitchell. There's Kyle in Chicago. We got Wayne, who I found out is actually a lot more local than I thought, right? And then Raph has been joining us. That's cool. The community aspect of it, the talking to people via video chat that you've not ever with before, right? That's huge to me. That matters.
Yeah, I think we've converted you, because I remember, a year or so ago, whenever I kind of first started chatting with you, and we were playing online, but you your webcam, you had a physical game board. I would set up my game board, and I had to like we were playing Red Rising. I organized my deck by color and alphabet. You would flip a card, and I would flip the card. I was like, dude, we could just play this on tabletop simulator. You're like, no, I don't like that.
Your wife walked by and made fun of us so much. To me, that I would have rather done that than play online. I think I'm leaning more towards your side now, but you said it earlier, right? No setup, no teardown, right? No boxes to set up or put together. That tells me no buy-in.
Right, exactly.
I have no buy-in into this. Like, I could just leave this game at any time and not care, because I can just press the X on my browser and walk away, because I have no real buy-in.
So are you saying that's a good thing or a bad thing?
That's a bad thing to me. Like, that's the part I don't like about the online part, is that there's no buy-in to it. Like,
but there's no buy-in. That I think it's easier to get people there. Like, hey, you can literally be sitting in your core group. I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm talking a lot about BGA, and we'll talk about some of the other platforms.
Right, I'm starting to see that. I was watching those spectating a game. You can actually spectate games. So spectating a game of Seven Wonders Architects, just to see how it played on there. And there was a guy in there had like a 40% rating. Like it said not recommended to play with or something. It was pretty bad. No, see, platforms for me, I know there's a few different ones. You'll be able to talk about them. I've only been introduced to 2, and for the most part, it's just Tabletop Simulator is where I started. And I think I tried to get you into Tabletop Simulator, but that's not your bag. I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you were very biased toward it, and it's got some good things, but
there's more buy-in. I mean, like, you actually have. Okay, go ahead. You introduce the folks to the different platforms. Let's go through and get Mitchell's a boot camp introduction to online board gaming.
I'm in no means a pro at this. I mean, kind of the OG is TTS, right? Tabletop Simulator. What's nice about it, it's a one-time fee. You buy it on Steam, right? And then there's almost, you can go in there, program a game. For me, what I don't like is that it's not scripted. So it's just looking at your own cards. You have to drag it to a specific area, because if not, everybody can see it. I know there are some key binds. The main good thing about it is that you can get almost any game on there, and you can't deny that. When you look at BGA, recently acquired by Asmodee, and they have committed to put one new game on every day. Now,
wow.
Every week, 6 of those 7 games are going to be like chess, but about once a week you get a solid game. I mean, they have a really good selection. It's not every game out there, but there's some really good ones. Lost Ruins of Arnak, like we mentioned, Chocolate Factory, Tapestry, I think is just out of beta. It was a little buggy. Really good ones. Maybe we can go through those later if you're interested. And so it is a free service. Anybody can play any game. However, unless you're a premium member, which you can pay monthly or by the year. I just did the year. It was easier. It's cheaper that way. You have for certain games you can only play if someone invites you to the premium table. But if you have a friend that has premium and you're only ever going to play with them, you don't have to pay, because they can just invite you to all the tables. So again, the con of BGA is the library is still, I mean, it's not super small, but compared to Tabletop Simulator, which is basically infinite, it's fairly small. But it is scripted. So I click on something, it does it. If I want to play a card, I click on it. If there's a cost to pay it automatically deducts it. I like you can find matches in there, again, with randos or with your friends. The best part, though, is probably that it's web-based. So you don't have to download anything. You can play on your phone. Like I was saying earlier, I play on my phone at work. Again, don't tell my supervisor that. It sends you notifications. It's great. Another option is Tabletopia. Tabletopia.
Well, let me talk about BGA a little bit before we jump into Tabletopia.
Okay, sorry.
I'm just learning about BGA, and you've made me now a subscriber after playing a couple times. Or no, once. It was one time on BGA with you. Made me realize, you know what? I can support this. You talked about, when you told me about it originally, you talked about the benefits of it being scripted, and I was a little more shied away from that because I always felt that games, they can have implementation issues, right, with scripted games. But after our first game, I saw it being web-based. It ran smooth. It ran so smooth and so easy. I was actually very much impressed. I wasn't sure how the layout of the board was going to look, access to scene information, clicking to do things, but it all seemed very intuitive. So BGA really, really works. I was very pleasantly surprised.
They work with the publishers. You know, obviously the publishers have a stake in this. I don't remember the details, but I mean, Jamie Stegmaier has talked about, you know, kind of the process of working on getting his games up there. I know they have a really good alpha and beta system where they're like, hey, this is a beta game or this is an alpha, play it. But we just ask, you let us know if there are bugs, and they get the bugs worked out and they take suggestions. It's great customer service in my experience so far. And I just looked it up. I think it's $2.50 a month for premium or $30 for a year. So that's nothing.
Yeah, I did the $30 for a year. I mean, I'll drop that on a board game pretty easy. So access to playing with friends online, that's huge.
Yeah, and again, some of the games on here, you're going to pay, like you said, more than that for the game. I'm just looking at some other ones. Feast for Odin.
I don't know. I mean, how would you do Feast for Odin online like that? There's so many aspects to that game.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I like is they don't have it for every game yet, but they have like built-in tutorials that'll teach you within the UI how to play. But then they always link to how to play, usually a Rodney Smith, or if they don't have one, some other one. So you can just click on it right there, teaches you the game. The video comes up. Plus, they have kind of like, not the full rule book, but kind of their shortened version of the rule book down to the bottom. You can scroll down. So it's like you got a rules reference right there just with the flick of your thumb. So it's manageable. And in my experience, they've really optimized what do you actually need to see. There's always the option to click on this to see all these other things. But what do you need 99% of the time on a turn to kind of, shrink it down for what you need? I really like it. It took a little bit of getting used to playing on a small screen like a phone. But now, I'm hooked, and they're really good about having undo buttons in case you click on the wrong thing.
That's my problem.
So,
that's
nice.
I have that problem. I'll hover over something because I'm a very kinetic person, right? That kinesthetic, is that the word? And either way, a tactile person. I like to kind of like hover over an area that I might want to do, then I might accidentally click on it. And like, no, I didn't mean to click on that. And not having an undo makes me want to just leave the game, right? Because in real life,
what game doesn't have undo in it?
Say again?
You played a game on BGA without an undo button?
All right, so Viticulture I know has a season setting where you click it and it does it. But I'm also thinking like apps, right? So not straight up just BGA, but like board game apps, implementations on like an Android or a mobile device. App-based games, when I play those and I click the wrong thing, there isn't an undo button. It's just frustrating. It is frustrating.
But I think the question was, though, have you come across a game on BGA that didn't have an undo button?
So far, well, I've only played once. It's. I tried to play Viticulture because I wanted to do like a local game. I can't figure out how to do just me and maybe someone at my house.
Yeah, I don't think it can do that.
Okay, so not like a pass and play style. I have to have somebody who's also on a separate computer.
Yeah, or on a phone or any device.
Okay.
So anyway,
you're heading into uncharted territory for me. I'm not familiar with Tabletopia.
So Tabletopia, in my opinion, is bad in all senses of the word. It's basically tabletop simulator. It's not scripted, at least to my memory. It is web-based, I believe, which is a little bit better, I guess, than TTS, but also some of the games you have to pay for. So even though they have more games like TTS, it's not scripted. You have to pay like a subscription model. So BGA, in my opinion, is superior on that. I don't even know why Tabletopia exists. Sorry if you're out there and you like Tabletopia. Maybe I'm wrong about something.
Is it like TTS?
Yeah, it's unscripted. You still have to click and drag things. So why not use TTS? I'm not sure. I guess other than the fact that it's web-based.
Okay, so it is web-based, so it's not software-based like Steam.
Correct.
But then I have to pay.
It's like BGA. Some of the games are free. Some of the games are subscription based. I've played some free games on it back before I discovered BGA, and I've much preferred BGA. So to be clear, I'm not 100% like knowledgeable on it, but that's the basics of what I know with Tabletopia. And then the other option, obviously, are Steam games, which usually Steam implementations are really good. There's some really good ones out there. Scythe is fantastic.
Yes.
Root is really good. Have you played Root?
I've not.
Okay. The digital edition is very, very good. Obviously, the downside to those are the fact that you're going to have to pay for each one. But generally, I mean, just like the soundtrack on Scythe, my God, it's amazing. I love it so much.
Terraforming Mars. I mean, it's an awesome implementation.
Yeah, that's another good one. What I really like on Scythe through Steam, I don't know if you've done this, Carlos, they have achievements. So it's like little challenges. Some of them are crazy and really, really hard to accomplish. Like one of them was construct a building next to an opponent's home base. So like that whole game, not only am I trying to win, but I'm also trying to get that objective. And I went through, this was during COVID. It took me, I think I have almost 24 hours logged inside digital. I got like all 65 objectives. Some of them are tough.
So this is like an achievement. So it's not an objective card in the game.
No. Yeah, it's an achievement on Steam.
Nice. So maybe I'm not playing to win that game. I'm just playing to beat that achievement.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. If I can real quick, I'll try to get the achievements up. Some of them are really interesting.
And that's how it feels most of my games of Scythe go. I love Scythe. I'm not good at Scythe. So most of my games of Scythe...
They're running another tournament right now. I'm guessing you're not signing up for that.
I am not in that, bro. I got stomped so bad. But for me, the whole idea of Scythe, most of my games go down to Carlos trying to decide what is something cool he wants to do in this game, and can he make that happen, even though I know I'm not going to win, right? I'm not going to win the game, but I'm going to do this cool thing. Like I'm going to get all my mechs into the center of the board. That's usually how I end up playing Scythe.
Yeah, you might enjoy this then. I'm going to look at some of these real quick. This one, okay, so it starts off getting a certain ELO ranking or completing a tutorial. This says build a mine next to the enemy base. Oh, that's the one I mentioned. Win a game in 15 turns. Win a battle with 0 power. Win a battle on a lake. Win a match while your opponent has 6 stars. Like some of these are very situational. Like I had to almost like wait for the opponents to get to a certain point before I could accomplish them. So it was a fun little puzzle to figure out. So that's one pro of the Steam versions of games, kind of changing up the gameplay a little bit.
I enjoyed the clock, right? So we played Terraforming Mars with it was during COVID is when I started playing a lot of these games when we were locked down. Nick Oben joined us for a game, and that always scares me. Nick Oben does not have 7 minutes of playtime. But we were able to put that clock on them, and that changes the whole game when you got a clock.
That ends my list of my known digital implementations of games. Obviously heavily biased toward BGA, but there are other options out there, and feel free to tell me I'm wrong, those of you out there listening.
I think I would have told you were wrong until I experienced Arnak on there. I really want to see that database of games grow. Like, I want to play some Brass. I want to play... There's so many other games I want to now try on the Thursday night show, like the after show, that I'm a bit disappointed aren't on there yet.
There is a Brass...
Is it Brass Birmingham or Lancashire? On Steam? Okay, because I know our next topic is going to be on Brass, and I need to get more plays of that in. Well, all right, well, I'm gonna jump... Oh, I hate playing on computers, but if that's my only option, if Steam's my only option, that's where I'm going. I guess my summary for online gaming is it's something that I was forced to do back in 2020 when everything got shut down, and I enjoyed it for the little while that we did it. I'm finding that it has its place, especially now that we've broadened our community beyond just our local area, and it's given us an opportunity as a show to interact with our viewers and our listeners by playing games with them remotely. So I'm going to continue to learn more and push the envelope of where I've been digital gaming.
I think that about wraps it up then, huh?
I think it does. Any updates for the folks at home? Anything upcoming for you, Mitch?
Just the same old. Sobo's coming up in about a month, March 19th to 20th, Lafayette, Louisiana. Family's
still excited, man. We are super excited about that. For me, I just got my shipping notification for the Libertalia Winds of Galecrest, which is expected to deliver on Friday. So it's one of a few reviewers selected by Stonemaier Games to receive an early copy. which means Saturday is game day. So it's coming with me Saturday to game day. So if you're looking at wanting to check out Libertalia, you can know that it's too late because this show comes out on Sunday. I will let you know how it went on the next podcast or the next call-in show. But every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Well, one little piece of news. I got Meadow in. I know you didn't play Meadow, but we talked about it on the podcast, recapping the Dice Tower Retreat. It's been in really high demand. I looked to order it around Christmas time. I was kind of getting myself some Christmas presents, and it was out of stock, and Game Nerds got it in stock a while back, and it took a little while to come in, so I'm excited to get that played soon. It's a little nature trail game. You're walking through the forest and looking at different plants and animals and stuff.
William has a copy, and I think it was played over at Dice Tower Retreat. Did you get a chance to play it then?
Yeah, he taught it to me, and I really enjoyed it.
So it was worth buying.
Yeah, it was. So after Dice Tower Retreat, there were some games that I instantly bought. This was one of the ones that I waited on a little bit, so it was good enough to buy it, but I had to wait a little bit until I felt like, man, I missed that game. So it's one of those ones that sticks around.
Like, it's not one, for me, there are games that I know aren't going to get to be played often, but I just want it in my library. There's something about it that's different or cool, and it's just, I want it as a part of my library. How long did you wait before you ordered Clash of Cultures?
Indefinitely. I don't think that one will be hitting my shelf. Sorry.
On that note, folks, that's going to wrap us up for this quick episode of just Mitchell and I. It's just him and I. Robert's doing some gaming tonight, actually. He's playing At Your Turn, his Arkham Horror LCG game night. So he could not join us, but we wanted to make sure with Mitchell having a lot of shows going on this week for his theater that I catch Mitchell before I missed him, so we can get this episode out to you Sundays. Every other Sunday, we're going to post something podcast-wise, and then every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, the live call-in show where we take your calls on YouTube and talk to you about what you've been up to gaming. So that's going to wrap us up. I'm Carlos.
I'm Mitchell.
And we're the Beans and Dice Podcast, a podcast about how we game. Thanks for listening. We will catch you on the next one, folks. Have a good night.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.